Oh my God.
Tropical Storm Irene in August 2011 was a silo-busting event for Vermont state government. It caused agencies to work together in ways that they hadn't always before.
I learned a lot from Irene, and that's part of why we have such an engaged, robust state team partnering with us hand in hand.
So they used the Tropical Storm Irene as a background to design what they wanted their long-term recovery to look like if they had a similar type of incident in the future.
We came out of Irene with a much better coordinated response capability.
We did get more staffing in Vermont Emergency Management to deal with the public assistance side of the table.
They committed staff, they committed resources, they knew that it was going to be important for them to be partners in this recovery and in the recovery planning.
We beefed up Vermont Emergency Management and moved our public assistance program from our Agency of Transportation over to emergency management within our Department of Public Safety.
And so they had a plan literally on the shelf that they designed with pre-designated long-term recovery task force.
We actually had a contract ready in the event we had a major disaster for us to bring in more support for our programs.
The summer storms of 23 hit, they pulled it off the shelf, opened it up, and actually executed the plan that they had previously written.
Since then, we've averaged more than one federally declared disaster per year, and a lot of these smaller disasters have gone relatively well because we have learned a lot of lessons from Irene, and the smaller disasters have given us opportunities to exercise what we've learned.
We learned that we still have a lot of growth around individual assistance, that helping people recover from a disaster like this, it's something that you can't put down for 12 years and then pick right back up. We also learned that there are some complexities and gaps in a lot of systems, especially dealing with renters. The rental situation in Vermont, with a really tight housing market, with very few places for people to live, that made our disaster so much worse because we didn't have a place for those displaced individuals to go. And we lost some households. They had to move out of Vermont because they had nowhere safe to live in Vermont. And that's a situation that, we really need to make sure we don't repeat that. We really need to make sure there's a safe place for people to go and live long term when we have this type of disaster.
The partners in Vermont have been extraordinary and phenomenal. The recovery officer, Doug Farnham, who's leading this whole effort, is incredible. He has the vision. The team has dedicated a chief officer of intergovernmental relations who sits in our team and has been with us every day throughout these last 9 months. And he is our absolute partner, and together we have worked to coordinate the state and federal agencies to build comprehensive recovery networks across the state, to lay out regions and support the state in getting funding to staff those regions and really help them build something that's going to help them move towards a comprehensive recovery.
And having our state partners here to support the operation, to be as involved as they are in the decision making and the development of strategies has been key to the operation here.
The thing that we did this time around that was newer to us was we worked with the FEMA Interagency Recovery Coordination Team. And that team really helped pull us to the table with a lot of different federal agencies. We had Eric Philcorn. He really made sure we were talking to those groups and connecting to the right places.
I go to the JFO every day. To be able to save someone from FEMA the trouble of thrashing about trying to figure out the right place to go within a state agency or a regional planning commission or a municipal government, just to shorten the path to answers on both sides of the equation. To be able to come to answers faster, I hope, saves a lot of energy on both sides.
In the state of Vermont, it's been a little different. They have been absolute hand-in-hand partners throughout the entire process. That doesn't happen in every state.
FEMA's IRC, their Interagency Recovery Coordination Team, they really helped us look in every location. I think, especially without a large disaster supplemental from the federal government, that was extremely important to us to just check every box and make sure we're not missing any opportunities.
Sometimes we can go and create a recovery plan and hand it to the state for them to approve or disapprove, but in this instance with Vermont, they were absolutely involved every step of the way in writing that plan, which means that they take ownership in it, right? And they are invested in it, and they believe in it, and they're going to use it.
Working with the state, we use for our long-term recovery, we use an integrated strategic plan. And in the case of Vermont, the state Doug Farnham specifically, actually wrote the portion for the Interagency Recovery Coordination's portion of it, focusing on their long-term recovery. And I think that is a great example for other states to look at, driving their own recovery.
I think other states can learn from Vermont by making the commitment to, if they're going to go forward with IRC engagement, commit to that and devote staff and time and attention to that. Not only did the state of Vermont provide staff and a chief recovery officer and a chief of intergovernmental relations to our team, but they also stood up 8 task forces which were represented by their secretary level department heads across the state to focus on the buckets and the focus areas that they wanted to look at for recovery. I think it's important for a state to make those kinds of commitments, to dedicate the time, the staff, the resources, to really work with the federal partners who are coming in to help them. And then it's a true partnership and it's a joint recovery effort and a joint recovery planning process.
Any mitigation measures you're going to take, I would say be more conservative in your protection levels. Be more protective than you might have been, because we are dealing with a warmer, wetter environment, particularly in Vermont, and the return on investment on these activities is huge, sometimes as high as 6 to 1. For every dollar you invest, you'll protect $6 worth of property. And if you want to prosper in the long run, you protect that property, you get it out of harm's way.
From our side, I think we need to be better educated in how IRC works.
To make sure that when we approach any incident, that we're doing it on a more holistic approach, making sure that we have our state partners, our other federal agencies, philanthropic organizations, we're coming together holistically to provide the support that is needed for the recovery of communities and citizens.
It's a small state, a very small federal government, a very, very small rural communities. And so if a state like Vermont can do this, any state can do this. But you have to invest in it. And Vermont did. They invested in developing their long-term recovery plan after Irene. And once the summer storms of '23 hit, they executed the plan. So very proud of the work that they've done. And I really believe that other states could use a sample of what they did for a plan to set themselves up for success in future disasters.